Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chair of Monmouthshire County Council.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, distinguished guests, fellow councillors and guests, welcome to the annual general meeting of Monmouthshire County Council. There are not many items on the agenda. The first one is apologies for absence.
We received apologies from County Councillors Graham Down, Simon Howarth, John Marshall, Ruth Edwards and Ralph Chapman.
Next item is declarations of interest. I don't think there are any. So we'll go on to the item 3. And item 3 is on the agenda is the election of a new chairman for the civic year 2016-2017. Before I call for nominations, I wish to address the council. I'd like to begin by thanking my fellow councillors for giving me the opportunity this past year to represent Monmouthshire as your chairman. It's been a wonderful experience for both myself and Mary and a very great honour. Halfway through the year, I was asked if there'd been any outstanding moments. So many come to mind that it's a very difficult question to answer. Our involvement in the war in Afghanistan has highlighted the further sacrifices our young men and women have made in the service to our country. And in August, it was an honour and a most humbling experience to meet and speak with 6 young people who were taking part in the Walking with Wounded charity throughout the length of Britain. Despite their life-changing disabilities, they're amazingly positive as they look towards the future, a real inspiration. In November, we attended 4 different Remembrance Day services, and the one at Llanelli Hill brought a different experience, where a little girl of only 10 years old recited In Flanders Field. It was so moving. It's something that I will, and I know Mary will always remember. In October, we saw the opening of the new primary school in Raglan. With such a sense of excitement and enthusiasm, it was obvious that teachers and pupils were thrilled to have the opportunity to take advantage of the outstanding facilities. And I was delighted to have the privilege of opening the new school with the Bishop of Monmouth. The future prosperity of Monmouthshire is interlinked with a high standard of education. On visits to various schools, I've been impressed with the positive attitude of both pupils and staff. With the opening of the new schools in Monmouth and Caldicot in 2017, and the planned new schools to be completed in a few years' time, I feel confident that our future generations will have the best education possible. Another highlight has been the involvement with Gwent Music and the several concerts we have attended, including one at the Royal Albert Hall. Both Mary and I agreed that they've all been wonderfully uplifting moments, and like many of our previous chairmen, I've become a friend of Gwent Music. They do deserve all the help and support we can give them. I know that funding is tight, but I thought I'd better mention that, Leader, so that you can perhaps bear it in mind. I would urge all councillors, if they can, to support Gwent Music whenever they're able to. The fundraising concert they gave 2 weeks ago, and the Lord Lieutenant and High Sheriff were there, for my charities was absolutely amazing and raised the best part of £1,000. 2015 was also a year of many anniversaries. It saw the 800th anniversary of the signing of Magna Carta, the 600th anniversary of the Battle of Agincourt, won by Henry V, one of Monmouthshire's most famous sons. 200 years ago, Wellington defeated Napoleon at Waterloo, and 100 years ago saw the anniversary of the Battle of Ypres, when the Monmouthshire Regiment was almost annihilated. It was also the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Britain and the 70th anniversary of the VE Day and VJ Day. Mary and I went to a number of commemorative services for these events, one at Westminster Abbey, and again it reminded us how through the centuries our men and women have fought for their country. We also saw the proclamation of the Eisteddfod at Caldicot Castle, and the Eisteddfod itself in August this year at Abergavenny will be a huge event, and I wish Jim well as he's learning Welsh to participate. It's been a very busy year, but a very rewarding one. We've been to so many wonderful events and met so many lovely people, making many new friends with whom I'm sure we will keep in touch. We've attended nearly all the functions for which we've had invitations, and if we've been unable to attend, then my Vice Chairman, Jig Higginson, and his consort, Pauline, have always attended in our place. So Monmouthshire has always been represented. I'd like to give Jim and Pauline my heartfelt thanks for all they've done so ably to assist me. They've supported all the functions that I put on to raise funds, and Jim has been a real support to me. Thank you, Jim, very much. My two charities this year were Wales Air Ambulance and the Noah's Ark Children's Hospital. I'm delighted to say that we will raise more than £12,000 for them. I'm now going to embarrass my daughter-in-law, Claire, wherever she is. I can't see her. I'm sure she's there somewhere. Oh, there she is at the back. Claire gave us the fashion show, which she has a shop very near the Three Salmons. So we had the fashion show in the Three Salmons. She kept the shop open. She made a small fortune, I think, on selling the clothes. But it was a real headache for her. I know it. But she did rise to the occasion magnificently, and on that occasion we raised £1,500. My daughter Sally is also at the back, and she ran the Cardiff Half Marathon. A lot of members here and officers, thank you very much, sponsored that event, and that raised more than £1,200. There were many enjoyable fundraising events, including a harvest supper, afternoon tea, a quiz, the chairman's golf day, and of course Gwent Music's concert. Thank you all for the support you've given me. As I said when I was elected Vice Chairman 2 years ago, Monmouth is fortunate to have such a dedicated and capable workforce, and I would like to thank the officers and staff of all departments for their outstanding work in often difficult circumstances. Special thanks to Paul and also to Rob, who's occasionally got me out of trouble when I haven't been too sure of what to do. But thank you to both of them for their support. And also, it goes without saying, the organisational expertise of Linda and Julia. They've been invaluable throughout the year of office. Together with our driver Steve, it meant that every function we attended went smoothly and could be enjoyed without any stress. Finally, my sincere thanks to my chaplain Paul for all his support throughout the year. To Mary and I, he's not only just the Baptist minister, he's a true friend and is always there for us. My special thanks go to Mary for her constant support throughout the year. She was very apprehensive when I took office, but I can honestly say that for every event which we attended, although Mary was not always enthusiastic about going, she always said on return how glad she was to have gone, and she'd enjoyed it very much. Now, whether that's true or not, I honestly don't know. I'm sure it is. I think it's safe to say that Mary has appreciated this year as much as me. My son Tim and daughter-in-law Claire and our daughter Sally have been a real help and support, and my very sincere thanks to all three of you. Once again, as I conclude, could I thank you, the councillors, for all the help and support that I've received this year, a year that I will look back on with very fond memories and a great measure of satisfaction. Thank you very much. Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if you would allow me to address the council, and I'm sure my colleague leaders will also may want to also say a little something. Mr. Chairman, Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, distinguished guests and councillors, it's a great pleasure to stand here once again tonight. And this year has absolutely flown by at a frightening pace. And it's that time of year again when we have the opportunity to reflect on the chairman's year. I don't know why it's gone so fast. If we're just busier, or it's getting older, or the days are getting shorter. I'm not sure. I'm getting older, I'm told. Yes, that's probably it. Brian, I know you have had a really great year in office. You've just given us a flavour of that. And you've been a first-class ambassador for the county, for which I thank you most sincerely on behalf of all of us here in the council. You are hugely respected throughout the region. You are one of those people who are just easy to work with. You have time for people. Wherever they may sit within the organisation or the wider community, you always give them time. Your calm and thoughtful approach puts people at ease. You demonstrate continually the qualities that are important for those in leadership. And what you see is what you get. And that's a really important attribute. In the chamber here, you've had your fair share of challenges. That's fair to handle, and you've dealt with them well and professionally. Your decisive and strong chairmanship has been welcomed by all of our, I'm sure, colleague councillors and officers alike. And when necessary, you have administered the discipline needed to bring order to proceedings. Not that it happens often, but just now and again you have to, I know. But you've also been fair, and you've always been considerate of all. And that's a really important role for a chairman to make sure everybody has a fair chance. I speak to many people within this council, obviously, and further afield, and I have only heard good things about you and your chairmanship. You are well liked and respected throughout. There's no doubt of that. I'd like to thank Mary for supporting you in this way. I know, Mary, you've been an absolutely fantastic consort, but I know you were a little anxious at the beginning. We had a couple of conversations, anxious about embarking on this this year of office, but you've absolutely been brilliant, and I thank you so much on behalf of the council for the support you've given Brian throughout. So thanks and well done. Brian, not only have you had a busy schedule in this civic role, in this civic year, you've maintained your committee work, and that's a big ask actually on top of doing all of this civic role. Brian's a member of the Audit Committee, the Planning Committee, the Licensing Committee, the Standing Advisory Committee for Religious Education, and you've maintained your commitment to those committees whilst doing this, and that is a really a big ask, and you delivered that, and I thank you for that as well. We've already heard about your charities, and I have to say, you both of you, Mary and yourself, done a fantastic job raising fundraising. £12,000, I have to say, that is the most that has ever been raised by a chairman in this council since it started. So that is a really fantastic effort. A real sterling effort. Chairman, as I mentioned, I'm sure other leaders will also want to say something now. But on that note, can I thank you for all you have done and congratulate you on your year of office.
Thank you very much. Dimitri.
Thank you, Chairman, and it's definitely older, Peter. Definitely. I wish to echo the sentiments, Councillor Fox, and just add a few more, if I may, Chairman. But first, I would like to start with thanking the family of Councillor Strong. As councillors, as all councillors know, the family behind us often get exasperated with the council commitments and all the other things that come with it. And just hearing some of the stories, how your daughter, your son, and his daughter-in-law, and your wonderful wife Mary have been so supportive, and for the tremendous work the family have done to raise that amount of money has been just a testament to how wonderful the family is. And on behalf of the Labour Group, well done, congratulations, a fantastic effort. It shouldn't be a shock how wonderful the family is when you've met Brian. He's just such a calm, nice man. He's had a different style to the previous chairman, it's fair to say, but no less effective. He's been a strong, calming presence, always accommodating, but always know where to draw the line. He's always got a smile on his face. Every time you meet Brian, he's got a smile on his face. No matter what's probably happening in his life, he's always got a smile on his face, and I always love that. and he's got the respect of everyone in this council, regardless of their political leanings. And, well, in short, Brian is a gentleman. That's the biggest compliment I can give to you. And I have a lot of time for Brian, whether you're chairman or not. And acquiring respect from other political parties in this somewhat fractious political environment we now inhabit. Maybe I spend too much time on Twitter. But getting that kind of personal respect in this environment, Brian, is a very, very rare thing. And it's a rare quality. That rare quality alone, Brian, means you've been a wonderful representative of Monmouthshire County Council. And on behalf of the Labour group, thank you for being a splendid chairman and a splendid person.
Thank you, Dimitri. Councillor Phil Hobson. Oh, sorry, Francis. Councillor Francis Taylor. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Busy and rewarding year, and like Councillor Fox, I think that this 12 months has gone very quickly, and maybe that is because we're getting older. But I also thought it's worthy to note that this is the last annual meeting of this council, and it only seems like a moment that we had the first annual meeting of this council term in the Shire Hall in Monmouth. You'll no doubt recall. Can I say that if at times, as you said, you haven't been sure what to do, we certainly haven't noticed that. And I think that you've chaired all the meetings, as Councillor Petruni says, in a very fair and firm way. And I have to say that I do regard you also as a gentleman. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. And now, Councillor Phil Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first got to know you as Councillor Strong or Brian when we did a walk around Usk in your ward. We had several meetings after that, but what really came across very quickly was how many times that you were stopped in the street. You were so well known, so well respected. That word is going to keep on coming through. And obviously you had a love and a commitment to your town. And those values and your beliefs have transferred this year into a great year that you've had for the county and for your love of this county. It has been indeed a busy year. But two themes for me have come through about your year. And you've spent a lot of time concentrating on the future of this county, particularly our young people, and the prosperity, your passion for education, for example. But another thing that you've also carried on a tradition in Monmouthshire where we have supported our defence services, particularly our servicemen and women who have served in all theatres across the world and sometimes making ultimate sacrifices or coming back injured who need support not just whilst there but continuing. And you've been there, and that's been one of your passions this year. You've mentioned anniversaries of VE Day, VJ Day, Agincourt, Waterloo and so on. And it's always through conflict, it's the young people who always take the first sacrifice and the ultimate sacrifice. So those themes about young people and the future have always come through this year. You've kept us in line in this chamber. We have been a bit naughty from time to time, but I daren't this year try and misbehave because you will give me that look of disappointment. It's remarkable that I've never known a chair actually serve on so many committees, keep up all their committee work and also be chair and do all their civic duties. So that's quite remarkable. So you've had an incredible year. To end, you've dealt with us fairly. You've taught us it's best to be calm, to have good manners. You've treated us with kindness and respect, and also to follow the rules. So to end, I would say, for me, and I know for other people, you've been an example to follow. But something that other people have said to me and mentioned during your year is that you are a true gentleman, and you are that example to follow. Thank you for your year.
Well, thank you, Councillor Hobson, and thank you other three gentlemen, two gentlemen, one lady. I'm sure that you've over-egged it quite a bit, but it has been a pleasure, and I look forward to taking my seat at the back now, and I can just watch Jim do his job. So we'll go on now to call for nominations for the office of Chairman of the County Council for the civic year. Councillor Petruni.
Thank you, Chairman. It's with pleasure to nominate Councillor Jim Higginson. I'd just like to say a few words in his nomination. This feels like not Groundhog Day, but Groundhog Year. I've done this maybe 3 or 4 times. I forget now. It's been that many times. But it proves if you try again, you eventually succeed. And I've always felt strongly, regardless of political leanings, that we should always respect public service in this council. People who have served their communities well and over a number of years. And I feel that Jim Higginson is an exemplar of that. I have to read this out because he's got a long list. He's told me. He was born and lived in Ebbw Vale, the son of a miner, educated, went to primary grammar schools, worked for the steel company and Richard Thomas and Boards for 6 years, took 2 years to drive coaches, never knew that, Jim. Drove coaches, mainly, again, went back to steel company in Ebbw Vale, got involved in a union, became official in a local branch, then eventually ended up in Lamworth Steelworks, given the situation in Ebbw Vale Steelworks. Then moved to Caldecott in 1980, became interested in politics, got elected in local government in 1983, the year I was born. During that time, we've been mayor on 3 occasions, and in Caldecott Town Council. You've been on Monmouth Borough District, which then turned into Monmouthshire County Council, and I believe been elected since then, 1996, 8. Early retirement from Lamworth in 1997, and since then been in public service, representing your community incredibly well, and it's an absolute honour, Chairman, to nominate Councillor Jim Higginson.
Thank you. Councillor Fox.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to second Dimitri's nomination for Jim. Jim, we've known each other quite a long time. I joined this council in 1997 on a by-election, and I know you joined in 99, but prior to that you were a borough councillor, so you've got as much experience as anybody in here of public life, as well as all that you've done in your town council role. You're a gentleman, Jim, and I'm only sorry that you haven't been able to make it to this chair. There's some of the issues sometimes with politics which get in the way of perhaps what should be. But I'm pleased now in this last year of this administration that you are going to take that chair, and you are going to be chairman of this council. And I have every confidence in you to do this. You've been a stalwart in all of the committees I've been part of. And one thing with you, Jim, we've never let politics get in the way, and we're always friends. And that goes with a lot of us here, that politics is something we have to do. It's our job, but it doesn't take away the humanity we have underneath, where we are friends. So I'm delighted to second you. Look forward to you having a great year. And I know you and Pauline will have a great time, and I'll be there to give you support wherever you need it.
Thank you, Councillor Fox. Are there any further nominations? As there are no further nominations, may I please have your votes for Councillor Jim Higginson? That's unanimous. Congratulations. I now invite Councillor Jim Higginson to read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
Thank you, Chairman. I, Jim Higginson, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Monmouthshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time.
I now invite County Councillor Jim Higginson to read and sign his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Jim Higginson, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Monmouthshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time. And I now have to sign. Yes. I use my own pen. Just a chair a minute. I should know, shouldn't I? I wish to thank fellow members for putting me in this position. I mean, as Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, I appreciate deeply. First, before I want to say a few things about Brian's year of office and the support that Pauline and I have provided to him. Before I do that, please, I would like to introduce my chaplain, the Reverend Dennis Richards. It's over here. Thank you, Dennis. And my consort is Pauline Collier. Please start here. And my charities for this coming year will be T. Haven and St. David's Foundation. Before I present Brian with his badges, a couple of things I wanted to say, if I may. Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, distinguished guests, elected members, officers and guests. It is without doubt a privilege and honour to be here in this position today, which I've just said. Being Vice Chairman for the past year is an experience not to be forgotten. It has been a pleasure for myself and Pauline to support Brian and Mary through the past year. We have attended various functions in support of Brian and Mary, their chain gang friends informing us how much their company had been enjoyed. And we heard that with Peter, how the appreciation of Brian throughout the county and elsewhere has been. They have been excellent ambassadors for Monmouthshire County Council and should be congratulated for what they've done. At meetings where I have sat alongside Brian, and that's here, we have frequently had little discussions on how to proceed and, importantly, how to manage meeting content. In doing so, we've had a few smiles regarding where it is appropriate to stop discussions. And I believe Brian managed that well, and I hope I can do the same. Brian and Mary were telling us only yesterday how much they've enjoyed the experience, how much they will miss attending events, There is a flip side to this, however, in that they miss being with involved with the grandchildren over the past year, and now that at the end of Brian's term of office, they're looking forward to spending more time with the grandchildren and the family. Fundraising for the charities, and we've heard what has been important to both of them. At the final count, and I wrote this before I knew what it was, I believe they will be well pleased with their efforts. 12,000, as Peter said, that's never been achieved before ever. As chairman now, I'm being extremely appreciated for your confidence in electing me. I can reflect on the many members that preceded me in this position. And from there, at least I hope I can do a good job. Thank you. I would now like to present Councillor Strong with his past chairman's badge. Item 4 on the agenda, I now call for nominations for the office of Vice Chairman of the County Council for the civic year 2016-17. Councillor Rob Greenland.
Thank you, Chair, and Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, distinguished guests. It is a pleasure for me to nominate to the office of Vice Chairman for the coming year, Councillor Paul Jordan. Paul has been a member of this council representing Cantref Ward in Abergavenny since 2008. During that period of time, he's served on various committees and has in fact been chair of both the Audit Committee and the Children and Young People's Committee at various times. But it wasn't there that Paul started his public service. He has also been a member of Abergavenny Town Council for the last 20 years. In fact, for those followers of Twitter, if you looked last night, you would have seen a photograph of Paul dressed in this very becoming red robe at the mayor-making ceremony. And perhaps actually I could just take this chance of congratulating the new mayor of Abergavenny, Councillor Chris Woodhouse, who was of course also a past chairman of this council. Paul looked very smart in this red robe. The only trouble was it wasn't the right colour as far as I was concerned, but it was very smart. Paul is a solicitor, and as such, he's acted as the Conservative group's guru for a number of years. And that's absolutely great, because it's not often that you get free advice from a solicitor and don't have to wait months for it. Paul is married to Catherine, and actually she's also a solicitor, but now works for our newly re-elected Assembly member, Nick Ramsey. I can't actually imagine what the conversation around a dinner table of two solicitors is. I'm seeing our monitoring loss officer looking grimly at me. I do apologise for this. But I cannot imagine what the dinner time conversation of two solicitors can be like. But nevertheless, Paul is also a long-term member of Abergavenny Rotary Club. The Rotary organisation is a worldwide organisation that does a huge amount of voluntary work for various social causes, and Paul throws himself into that. And much of that work goes unsung, which actually brings me on to something else about Paul, and I bet you didn't know, not many people knew this, but Paul is a singer of some talent. He is a member of the a cappella choir known as, what's it known as? Synergy. So Paul tells me that actually he's going to bring his experience of this singing into use when he, if he becomes elected as Vice Chairman, because he will undoubtedly bring some harmony to the Council. Well, all right, you do better. Nevertheless, it is my pleasure to nominate to the post of Vice Chairman for the coming year, Councillor Paul Jordan.
Is the nomination seconded? Councillor Liz Hacketby.
Thank you very much, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure to second the nomination for Councillor Paul Jordan, and I can think of no better person.
Thank you, Councillor Hackett-Payne. Are there any further nominations? Someone moves nominations closed, please. Yeah, okay. Thank you. As there are no further nominations, may I please have your votes for Councillor Paul Jordan? That's unanimous, I think. I now invite Councillor Paul Jordan to read and sign his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Paul Jordan, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Monmouthshire County Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code for the time being as to the conduct which is expected of members of Monmouthshire County Council and which may be revised from time to time.
I now would like to ask the incoming Vice Chairman if he wishes to address the Council.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members, for voting for me. It's a privilege to represent the Council as Vice Chairman. It'll be a pleasure for me to support Jim during what I'm sure will be a very busy year in the run-up to the elections in 2017. I would like to introduce my wife, Catherine, who I'm sure is known to many of you already. We're both looking forward to the year ahead. Catherine, if you'd like to come forward.
Right, I now invite the past Chairman's consort, Mrs Mary Strong, to present the consort's chain of office to my consort, Mrs Pauline Collier, together with a bouquet of flowers. I now invite my consort, Mrs Pauline Collier, to present a pendant to the past Chairman's lady, Mrs Mary Strong, together with a bouquet of flowers. I would invite my consort, Mrs. Pauline Collier, to present the Vice Chairman's consort, Mrs. Catherine Jordan, with a chain of office and a bouquet of flowers. I would now like to defer the remaining business of this county council to Thursday coming the 14th of May. That'll be a 2 p.m. start, not a 5 p.m., 2 p.m. Could I now please invite the High Sheriff, Lord Lieutenant, distinguished guests, my fellow councillors and guests and senior officers join me for refreshments. Thank you.
Catherine, you can.